I think the only shortcut to success is found at the intersection where your strengths can shine the most and you have the least amount of competition. And it's by being yourself, pretty much. Like that's really what it is. Just like stick to what you know, stick to what you love, stick to what you're passionate about, and then do it in a specific niche where nobody else is doing it. And I think something that's interesting in your leadership space is that you aren't a dick. And that sounds like obvious to say, but like there are many people that see leadership as a title. And when it's a title, you can be an asshole. Yeah. And I feel like you're not that. Like, did you ever take the time to like practice it or learn from it or like read anything? Or is it just you being yourself?
Oh, man. Yeah. So what was it? Was it I think it was my sophomore or junior year. And with COVID, it was kind of, I had that weird spring season. But I remember just I was freaked out when I got voted in captain because I did not feel ready at all. You know, I was like, oh shit, like I'm going to have to step up. People are going to be looking to me. But I mean, I knew that I had my boys and that we were in it together and I'll figure it out. You know, like sometimes, like I think it's good to be prepared and good to be, you know, kind of educated. Like I did obviously do a little research. Like there's, especially was it not last year, but the year before, we kind of had a rough season. We didn't win many games, but there's definitely a few times where like, oh shit, like we lost another game. Like, how am I going to motivate the team? You know, like in a team talk, everyone's going to expect me to say something like, what can I say that's going to like, you know, get everyone riled up kind of, or move on from the last defeat, you know, like a bad Stanford loss. You're like, totally. What do you say after that? Right. So it's kind of like, I would watch videos and stuff. I'd look at I would take stuff from other people. I mean, I obviously learned from you. Like I definitely looked up to you and I still look up to you for leadership stuff. I looked up to Christian too. I feel like I had the support, you know? So I feel like you guys kind of helped me go through this. I looked at all the guys, Dylan, Goose, Colin, Ian, like all of them. You take the stuff you think that works, that does well, and you also flag the stuff where you're like, okay, maybe I won't do that. Like maybe he said something that didn't work. Like I'll try to stay away from that. But yeah, no, I feel like I just kind of jumped in, you know, learned by throwing myself in there, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's always better to learn by practice than by theory.
Yeah, I know. Like this weekend, so it was Mother's Day this past weekend. I was at my grandma's house, and I haven't seen my grandma in a while. And we were just talking. I was kind of giving her the scoop on what's been going on, and the good and the bad. And I was telling her about something stupid I did or some mistake I made, and she was just like, "Good." And I was like, "Yeah." And then she got up, kind of like out of nowhere, walked over to the corner. She has like a little desk area. She picked off this little thing on the wall. It was like a little quote. I know you love your quotes. And it was I think it was Pete Seeger, the American folk singer. I don't know if you know, but it was something like, education is what you get when you read the fine print. Experience is what you get when you don't. And I felt like I got a little bit of both of that because like I didn't have the leadership experience, but I just kind of threw myself in there, you know, was wearing the armband, just was learning on the fly, you know? And so but I felt confident because I had you guys with me. So, and I feel like I'm still learning and figuring it out to this day. Like I don't have it all figured out, but that's okay. So
something I've been struggling with a lot, especially in terms of leadership recently, is criticism and just like criticizing others and just like looking at their faults. I don't know why I've been noticing their faults a lot more. And I feel like, again, because of who you are as a person, you're just like so much chiller. And I feel like at least you aren't vocal about it, if anything. Maybe you think it, but you're not as vocal. I'm curious, did you ever read The Great Gatsby?
I did. Yeah.
Okay, so like that book at face value, right? It's just like this book about a self-made millionaire that's trying to pursue this young, wealthy, like good-looking woman. Like at face value, that's what it is. Yeah. But I've been fascinated about this idea because if you read the whole book and then reread the 2 opening lines, it changes the entire meaning of the story. At least it does for me. So the opening 2 lines of the story read, "In my younger and more vulnerable years, my father gave me some advice that I've been turning over in my head ever since. Whenever you feel like criticizing anyone, he told me, just remember that all the people in this world haven't had the advantages that you've had. And I think about that so much. Anytime I'm thinking about like, criticize this person, or like, I didn't like what they did here, I try to remember they haven't had some of the advantages that I've had, or we come from different backgrounds and all these different things. I'm curious, like, how do you avoid it, or how do you do that in your leadership spot, position, title? Just because obviously every guy on the team has different backgrounds, comes from different places, and has different values, motivations, goals even. Yeah. But then you have to throw all these individuals in a team to work together. So how do you manage that?
Oh, man. I mean, first off, what a way to start out a book with The Great Gatsby. That's a great one. The green light across the lake, or is it the bay? I forget.
It's the bay. But the best part about that quote is that it's so true, right? Yeah, but this novel was published in 1925. That's going to be a century old in a couple months.
I know.
And the best part about this, I think what makes it such a classic, is that the lessons have like just stand through time.
Yeah.
They're timeless. Yeah. They stood the test of time. And that's how you know like how real it is. Yeah. It was published almost a century ago and we're still talking about it. That's totally incredible. But anyways.
But yeah, for the whole criticizing thing in leadership, it's funny because I'll talk to the coaches frequently, and I like talking to Hank too, Henry Falk, the goalkeeper coach, because he gives that kind of like, almost like my mom a little bit, kind of that outside perspective, you know, like he's not out there with Leonard and Jake, like, and Ricky with the, you know, kind of the team, like in training. He's kind of with his goalkeepers. And it's always nice to hear his take on it, because he'll be watching us kind of from a distance, and he always loves the conversation too. But he's told me so many times, he's like, you need to be a dick. Like, you need to get on some of these guys, because he's like, you're a little too nice sometimes. And I'm like, oh, okay. So, but I know how some people react to that. And I think it's just mostly about, for me at least, just observing and listening. And I feel like most of the time, you know, like just kind of like a little compliment sandwich, or, you know, just kind of motivating guys, like just giving them confidence. Like, I think that is probably the most effective way, at least in my experience. I mean, I know there's been times where I've reacted well when someone's kind of gotten on my case, when they're like, you know, in your face yelling and telling you like, you're not doing well. And and it kind of lights a fire under your ass, and then you go out and play well. But I feel like for the most part, you know, I want to support my team. And I also, selfishly, I want them to like me too as a person. I don't want to, you know, you can get kind of lonely if you're a leader and all you do is yell and yap at people. Like, no one's going to like you. And, you know, you're going to kind of be like isolated from the team. So I've always wanted to be just a guy that, you know, kind of inspires, just kind of like tries to lift people up, like highlight the good things that they're doing on the field. Like whenever like if someone's doing something wrong and does it like a few times and, you know, clearly needs some kind of guidance, like usually the coaches will be the first ones to critique them and get on them. But I like to come in and be like, hey, like, I think you're doing this really well. You know, like you've been really effective in the final third. Maybe like your through balls are looking good, but like, we just need you a little bit faster on the defensive transition, man. Like just to help the team out. Come on, like let's do it. And I feel like that goes a long way, because it's like, you know, you're highlighting the positives, but you're also, you know, kind of telling them what they can do to you know, pick it up. So I that's kind of been my go-to for the most part, but you know, it can change every once in a while too. So
yeah, it's a weird trade-off, because I do think there is some loneliness with the job, and I'm not sure if it's part of the role. I'm not sure if it has to be part of the role, because maybe right now you are the good cop, but maybe the coaches are the bad cops, and maybe that's the relationship you guys have on the team. Or maybe there's another teammate now that does play that role. I don't know. But it's interesting, because oftentimes we assume that the leader can't be friends or shouldn't be friends or should be like an asshole or a dick. And not because they're bad people, but because they care about the team so much that they're willing to push everyone to their maximum potential. Like I think of someone like Kobe, and I think he's so misunderstood, or was, obviously never met him, but like from the stories I read or listen to, he cared so much, and that's how he showed it.
Yeah.
Probably not the best way to show it, but he did. Like that's what was being shown through, and I'm just not sure if that's the best approach.
Yeah.
Possible, you know?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I mean, I think that's kind of how the approach I've taken because of the environment that I'm in, right? If we're going back to dominoes and determinism. But yeah, I mean, the coaches aren't always critiques. I didn't mean it like that. But I think they have more license to critique, and I think they do it more. But also, like, I also have Kevin too, Kevin Carmichael. We have a lot of leaders on the team, but I feel like he balances me out quite a bit because he's a little more loud, a little more vocal, and I'm a little bit kind of, I guess, a little more mellow in comparison to him. So that's kind of where I feel like I've kind of like, that's been my niche, you know, that's my area of leadership, kind of by just like the personal contact, a couple of team talks, but mostly positive reinforcement. And I kind of hate the, like, you know, lead by example thing, but I definitely, like, that's how I got the job, you know, like I wanted to just be a good teammate. Like, I'll carry the balls, I'll move the goals, you know, work my tail off. Like, that's just kind of that's how I was raised in the game. Like, that's what you do. I was the coach's kid, you know, I had to be that. And that's kind of what got me the armband. So I'm like, all right, well, I'll keep doing that. You know, just got to add a couple more things to it. Got to start, you know, public speaking a little bit in our team group, and got to check in with guys, you know, like make sure everyone's in, you know, good headspace, is confident, feeling good. And so, yeah, I'm still learning. I'm still trying to add, you know, kind of add ways of leading, but yeah.